My name is Lucy. I was born into what you might call an ordinary family, but my life took a sharp turn when I was just 3 years old. That's when my father died, leaving my mother a widow and me fatherless. It didn't take long for Mom to remarry. His name was Frank, and he owned a furniture factory. I guess Mom saw him as our ticket to a better life. But for me, it was the beginning of a long, difficult journey. Frank wasn't cruel, not in the way you might think. He didn't hit me or yell at me. No, his indifference was far more painful. From the day he moved in, it was clear I wasn't part of his new family picture. As if to cement my outsider status, Mom soon became pregnant with Frank's child. My half-sister, Sarah, was born when I was 5. From the moment she arrived, it was clear she was the golden child. As Sarah grew, the differences in our treatment became more apparent. Mom doted on her, cooking her favorite meals, buying her pretty dresses, and showering her with attention. Me? I was often shipped off to my grandmother's house, my dad's mom, for days at a time. I loved my grandma, don't get me wrong. She was warm and kind, everything my new home wasn't. But I couldn't help feeling like I was being discarded, pushed aside to make room for the new, improved family. When I was home, life revolved around Frank's rules. We had to wake up early, even on weekends. Loud music was forbidden. We could only be friends with kids Frank approved of, which wasn't many. As the years went by, I found myself taking on more and more household chores. By the time I was 10, I was doing laundry, washing dishes, and even starting to cook simple meals. Sarah, meanwhile, left a trail of mess wherever she went, never lifting a finger to clean up after herself. The only bright spot in my life was drawing. Whenever I could snatch a moment to myself, I'd pull out my sketchpad and lose myself in a world of lines and colors. It was my escape, my one true passion. As I entered my teenage years, life at home became increasingly challenging. Frank's furniture business was booming, and with success came changes that would impact my life even further. One by one, Mom's relatives started working for Frank's company. It started with Uncle Bob in accounting, then Aunt Sarah in HR, and before I knew it, half the family was on Frank's payroll. Even Mom joined the company, taking on a role in customer relations. With Mom working full-time, the burden of housekeeping fell squarely on my shoulders. I was barely 14, juggling school and an ever-growing list of chores. Meanwhile, Sarah, now 9, floated through life without a care in the world. The increased workload at home began to take its toll on my studies. My grades started to slip, and I found myself struggling to keep up in class. One day, I brought home a report card that was less than stellar. Mom's reaction was explosive. "What is this?" she shrieked, waving the paper in my face. "C's and D's? Are you stupid, Lucy? How could you let your grades drop like this?" I tried to explain. "Mom, I'm trying, but with all the housework." She cut me off. "No excuses. Sarah manages to get straight A's, and she's younger than you." Of course, Sarah had all the time in the world to study. She didn't have to worry about cooking, cleaning, or doing laundry. But pointing that out would only make things worse. Frank, ever the businessman, saw my poor grades as a failure of investment. "If you can't even manage decent grades," he said coldly, "don't expect me to pay for your college education." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. College had always been a distant dream, a glimmer of hope for a better future. Now, it seemed that dream was slipping away. Despite the increasing pressure at home, I clung to my love of art. Late at night, when everyone was asleep, I'd sketch by the light of a small desk lamp. Those quiet hours were my sanctuary, the only time I felt truly free. As high school graduation approached, the pressure to decide my future intensified. Frank made it clear that a position at his company was my only option if I wanted to stay under his roof. Mom, ever eager to please her husband, backed him up. "It's a good opportunity, Lucy," she'd say. "You should be grateful Frank is willing to give you a job." Grateful. That word made my blood boil. Grateful for a low-paying, dead-end job that would crush my spirit and kill my dreams? But I swallowed my anger, knowing that speaking out would only make things worse. The summer after graduation was a blur of monotony. I started working at Frank's furniture factory, doing mind-numbing data entry in a cramped, windowless office. I was saving every penny I could, dreaming of the day I might afford art classes or supplies. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, I found myself alone with Sarah in the kitchen. She was rifling through the fridge, complaining about the lack of her favorite snacks. "Hey, Lucy," she said suddenly, turning to me with an uncharacteristic look of interest. "What do you really want to do with your life?" The question caught me off guard. No one had asked me that in years. I love to draw and paint. I've been saving up for some professional paints. To my surprise, Sarah didn't laugh or dismiss me. She actually seemed intrigued. "That's kind of cool," she said. "Can I see some of your work sometime?" Encouraged by her interest, I showed Sarah my prized possession, a set of professional paints I'd bought with my hard-earned savings. "These are oil paints," I explained, carefully opening the box. "They're what real artists use." For a moment, I felt a connection with my sister that I'd never experienced before. But I should have known better than to let my guard down. A few days later, all hell broke loose. Frank burst into the house, his face red with fury. "Who the hell vandalized my car?" he roared. "Someone spray painted it. It's ruined." My heart raced. Frank's new car was his pride and joy, an expensive status symbol he'd been showing off to anyone who'd look. As the family gathered in the living room, Sarah's voice cut through the chaos. "Wait," she said, her voice dripping with false concern. "Didn't Lucy say she wanted to be an artist? She has those fancy paints in her room. I saw them." Frank's eyes narrowed. Without a word, he stormed up to my room. I followed, protesting my innocence, but it fell on deaf ears. When Frank found the half-empty can of spray paint, the same color as the vandalism on his car, I knew I was doomed. "But that's not mine," I cried. "I paint with oils, not spray paint." Frank's face was a mask of cold fury. "Get out," he said, his voice eerily calm. "Pack your things and get out of my house." Mom stood by, wringing her hands, but saying nothing in my defense. Sarah watched with a hint of a smirk on her face. In that moment, I realized the depth of her betrayal. She had set me up, framed me for a crime I didn't commit. And just like that, I was homeless. Cast out by the only family I'd ever known, betrayed by my own sister. As I stood on the street, my meager possessions in a bag at my feet, I felt utterly lost and alone. With nowhere else to go, I made my way to the bus station. I had just enough money for a ticket to my grandmother's town. As the bus pulled away, I watched my hometown disappear in the rearview mirror. When I arrived at Grandma's doorstep, suitcase in hand and eyes red from crying, she took one look at me and opened her arms wide. "Oh, Lucy," she said, pulling me into a warm embrace. "What happened, sweetheart?" Through tears and hiccups, I poured out the whole story. The years of neglect, the mounting pressure, and finally, Sarah's cruel betrayal. Grandma listened without interrupting, her face growing more concerned with each word. When I finished, she cupped my face in her weathered hands. "You listen to me, Lucy. You're safe here. This is your home for as long as you need it." For the first time in years, I felt truly cared for. But I knew I couldn't rely on Grandma forever. "I need to find a job," I said. "I can't be a burden to you." Grandma smiled. "You could never be a burden, dear. But if you want to work, we'll find you something." And find something we did. Within a week, I had a job at a local diner. The work was hard, long hours on my feet, dealing with grumpy customers, but it was honest work. More importantly, it was mine. Every paycheck felt like a victory, a step towards independence. As the weeks turned into months, I settled into a routine. Work, home, sleep, repeat. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to worry about walking on eggshells or meeting impossible expectations. One day, as I was clearing tables at the diner, I overheard a couple discussing local art. That night, I confided in Grandma. I miss drawing, I admitted. But every time I think about it, I hear their voices telling me it's useless. Grandma's eyes flashed with a mix of sadness and determination. Lucy, listen to me. Your art is not useless. It's a gift. Don't let their cruelty steal that from you. Her words struck a chord. That night, for the first time in months, I picked up a pencil. The lines were shaky at first, but soon I lost myself in the familiar rhythms of sketching. It felt like coming home. But just as I was finding my stride again, life threw another curveball. Grandma fell ill. It started with a persistent cough, then fatigue. Before I knew it, we were making regular trips to the doctor. Despite the challenges, Grandma never stopped encouraging my art. Don't give up on your dreams, she'd say, even on her worst days. Promise me you'll keep drawing, no matter what. 3 years passed in a blur of hospital visits, late nights, and constant worry. And then, on a crisp autumn morning, Grandma slipped away peacefully in her sleep. As I sorted through her belongings, I found an envelope with my name on it. Inside was a letter, written in Grandma's shaky handwriting. My dearest Lucy. If you're reading this, I'm no longer with you. But know that my love for you is eternal. You've been through so much, my brave girl, and I couldn't be prouder of the woman you've become. I'm leaving you the house and my savings. Use it wisely, and most importantly, use it to follow your dreams. Remember your promise to me, keep drawing, keep creating. The world needs your art, Lucy. All my love, Grandma. Tears streamed down my face as I read and reread the letter. Even in death, Grandma was looking out for me, pushing me towards my dreams. I made a decision that would change the course of my life. I enrolled in the local art school. One day, as I was working on a still life, my instructor, Ms. Jameson, paused behind me. You have a unique perspective, Lucy, she said, studying my canvas. Your use of color is unconventional, but striking. Have you ever considered branching out into design? Design. It was a way to combine my artistic skills with practical application. As I researched more, I realized the possibilities were endless: graphic design, interior design, even architectural design. Excited by this new direction, I threw myself into my studies with renewed vigor. I took extra classes in digital design, color theory, and spatial planning. It was during this time that I stumbled upon an opportunity that would become my breakthrough. The city was hosting a design competition for local businesses. The challenge: create a mural design that would revitalize a struggling neighborhood. I spent weeks on my entry, pouring every ounce of skill and passion into it. The day of the competition arrived. As I stood before the judges, explaining my concept, I felt a confidence I'd never experienced before. This was my vision, my creation, and I believed in it wholeheartedly. When they announced the winners, I held my breath. First place, the head judge said, goes to Lucy Anders for her innovative and inspiring design. The victory opened doors I never knew existed. Suddenly, local businesses were reaching out, asking me to design murals for their walls. My phone was ringing off the hook with commissions. One afternoon, as I was putting the finishing touches on a mural, a well-dressed woman approached me. "Excuse me," she said, "are you the artist?" I nodded, wiping my paint-stained hands on my overalls. "I'm Lucy." She smiled, extending her hand. "I'm Rebecca Thompson, from Urban Revival Designs. We've been watching your work, Lucy. It's impressive. Have you ever considered expanding into full interior design?" My heart raced at the opportunity. "I'm definitely interested," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But I'm still finishing my degree." Rebecca nodded. "That's not a problem. We offer internships that could work around your school schedule. It would be a great way for you to gain experience in the field." As I accepted her business card, my mind was whirling with possibilities. This could be my chance to take my art to the next level, to truly make a career out of my passion. The internship was interesting, but I still had the feeling that I was capable of more. And then I thought about starting my own company. I used the remainder of Grandma's inheritance as seed money, carefully budgeting every penny. My days were a whirlwind of finishing my degree, working on commissions, and laying the groundwork for my business. I named my company Vivid Visions Design, a nod to my love for bold colors and transformative art. My unique selling point was clear: I didn't just offer standard interior design, but specialized in creating stunning, custom murals that could transform any space. The early days were tough. But slowly, surely, things began to take off. One of my first big breaks came when a local tech startup hired me to design their entire office space. I created a series of interconnected murals that told the story of technological evolution, from the first computers to futuristic AI landscapes. When the project was unveiled, the response was overwhelming. The startup CEO, a usually stoic man, actually teared up. "This isn't just decor," he said, gesturing to the walls. "This is inspiration. This is art that makes you want to create." His words spread through the local business community like wildfire. Suddenly, I wasn't just Lucy the designer, I was Lucy Anders, the artist who could transform workspaces into sources of inspiration. As my business grew, I hired a small team of talented designers and artists. I made sure to create a work environment that was the opposite of what I'd experienced in my youth: supportive, encouraging, and respectful of everyone's ideas and time. One day, as I was brainstorming with my team for a new project, my phone buzzed with a notification. Absent-mindedly, I glanced at it and felt my heart stop. It was a social media post about Sarah. The post showed Sarah, smiling broadly, in front of a prestigious college. The caption read, "So proud of our Sarah, starting her business degree at Wharton. Proud parents, future business mogul." I stared at the screen, a whirlwind of emotions coursing through me. As I scrolled through her profile, I saw more posts chronicling Sarah's perfect life. There she was, posing next to a brand new luxury car. Another post showed her traveling abroad for various business courses, her smile wide and carefree. I put my phone down, trying to focus on work, but my mind kept wandering back to Sarah's apparent success. It seemed our parents were still playing favorites, lavishing Sarah with opportunities and gifts, while I had been left to fend for myself. One afternoon, I received an unexpected call from my Aunt Linda, the only family member I still kept in touch with. Her laughter rang through the phone before she even said hello. "Lucy, you won't believe what's happened," she said, her voice filled with barely contained mirth. "What is it, Aunt Linda?" I asked, curiosity piqued. "It's about Sarah and your stepfather's company," she began. "You know how he put her in charge while he and your mother went on that long vacation to the Maldives? Well, Sarah made a complete mess of things. Several serious mistakes in managing the company. Your stepfather came back to quite a shock." I felt a small smile tugging at my lips. "Really? What happened?" Aunt Linda gleefully filled me in on the details: poor investment decisions, mismanaged client relationships, a PR disaster that had cost the company a fortune to clean up. "You should have seen your stepfather's face when he got back," Aunt Linda chuckled. "He was furious. Told Sarah he'd paid for her education in vain. It was quite the scene, apparently." As I hung up the phone, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me felt a twinge of sympathy for Sarah. But I couldn't deny the small, vindictive part of me that felt a surge of satisfaction. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when I heard an unexpected knock at my door. When I opened the door, I was stunned to see Sarah standing there, tears streaming down her face, a suitcase at her feet. "Lucy," she sobbed, throwing herself at me. "You have to help me. Dad's disowned me, kicked me out. I'm homeless." For a split second, I felt a pang of sympathy. But then memories flooded back, years of neglect, Sarah's betrayal, the pain she'd caused me. I gently disentangled myself from her embrace. Sarah continued her performance, tears flowing freely. "Please, Lucy. I need a place to stay and a job. I could be the director of your company. I have the education for it." I almost laughed at the audacity. Sarah, I said, my voice firm but not unkind, there's an affordable hostel just down the street. You can stay there. Her tears stopped abruptly, replaced by indignation. A hostel? But I'm your sister. And I said I could be a director in your company. Actually, I replied, I am looking for a secretary. You could work with clients, manage appointments. A secretary? Sarah scoffed, her facade crumbling. I'm not some lowly assistant, Lucy. I deserve to be a director, with a good salary. And I should live here, with you. In that moment, I saw Sarah for who she truly was, manipulative, entitled, unchanged. The business world had hardened me, taught me to see through such tactics. I'm sorry, Sarah, but the answer is no, I said firmly. I can't offer you a place to stay or a director position. The secretary job is available if you want it, but that's all I can do. Sarah's face contorted with anger. Without another word, she spun on her heel and stormed off. From my window, I watched her climb into her expensive car, her expression a mix of frustration and disbelief. Later, I learned the truth from Aunt Linda. Sarah hadn't been disowned or kicked out. She'd merely thrown a tantrum over our father's criticism and decided to teach him a lesson by running away. Her plan had been to mooch off me until she felt her point was made. But the drama wasn't over. A few days later, my phone rang. It was my mother. Lucy, how could you turn your sister away? She demanded, without preamble. I took a deep breath. Hello to you too, Mom. Don't be smart with me, she snapped. Sarah told me everything. You should have given her a manager position, not offered her a secretary job. She has an expensive education, she's taken management courses. She's much smarter than you. The old hurt bubbled up, but I pushed it down. If she's so smart, Mom, why did she make so many mistakes running Dad's company? There was a pause, then my mother's voice came back, cold as ice. She just needs more practice. Your company would be perfect for her to learn, it's not like it would matter much if she made mistakes there. That was the last straw. Years of pent-up hurt and anger came pouring out. How dare you? I said, my voice shaking. After years of neglect, of forcing me to work while Sarah got everything handed to her, after kicking me out based on her lies, how dare you demand I risk my company, everything I built on my own, for her? Before she could respond, I hung up. It's been a couple of months. As I put the finishing touches on the decorations for my birthday party, I couldn't help but smile. My living room was filled with colorful balloons and streamers. Friends and colleagues from my design company would be arriving soon to celebrate another year of success and growth. Just as I was about to change into my party outfit, my phone rang. It was Jake, my assistant manager. Lucy, I'm sorry to bother you on your birthday, but we have an emergency at the office. You need to come right away. My heart sank as I rushed to the company headquarters. The office was in chaos. Torn design layouts littered the floor, and my employees looked shaken. In the middle of it all stood Sarah, swaying slightly, her eyes unfocused. What's going on? I demanded. Jake quickly filled me in. Sarah had shown up drunk, torn up our latest designs, and verbally abused both staff and clients. The police were already on their way. As the officers arrived and began to escort Sarah out, my phone rang again. It was my mother. Lucy, don't you dare press charges, she hissed. Just tell the police it was a birthday prank gone wrong. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Funny how you remember it's my birthday now, Mom. You didn't call to wish me well, but the moment Sarah's in trouble, you're quick to reach out. Mom fell silent, and I pressed on. I'm filing a report and seeking compensation for damages. Sarah needs to face the consequences of her actions. I hung up before she could respond and followed the police to the station. In the end, Sarah received a suspended sentence for hooliganism and was ordered to pay substantial compensation for the damage she'd caused. My parents, predictably, blamed me for everything. I felt no sadness, no regret. I severed all remaining family ties, except for my supportive Aunt Linda. Years passed, and my success only grew. Then, one ordinary Tuesday, I stumbled upon some shocking news on social media. Sarah, in her role as CEO, had run our father's furniture company into the ground. A series of catastrophic decisions had led to bankruptcy. Did I feel malicious joy? Rather, it was an understanding that karma still exists and works.